And World Vision is urgently working to get much needed medical equipment and food into Ukraine. Joining me live now from Siret in Romania is the CEO of World Vision, Daniel Wordsworth. Thank you so much for your time, Daniel. As we've just heard from Masha in Dnipro there in Ukraine, we're hearing that area where there's like 1 million people, a lot of them moving out and taking a very long time to do so. We've also, of course, seen we're up to our second week. People have been moving to the border areas and further inland. Just remarkable seeing the amount of support from neighbouring countries, seeing people offering hot soup for people who have just arrived. What's happening at the moment where you are?
Yeah, I mean, our hearts really go out for Masha. That was truly moving. I really feel for her and her family. I hope she and her husband stay safe. We're hearing the same stories, by the way, from inside Ukraine. And we're seeing an explosion of generosity from Romanian people. We're still seeing as the fighting is escalating, we're seeing more and more refugees crossing the border. But I think what you heard there is the story that's emerging, that what is going on in the Ukraine is it's just a real humanitarian disaster. We have the same messages. We have hospitals with no medicines, no food. We have pharmacies run out of drugs. We have grocery stores with very little food remaining. That's why we're going into Ukraine to resupply those areas.
Daniel, how are the people feeling? Because we're hearing, obviously, they're frightened, but we're also hearing, so much strength, so much determination to stay and fight. Others terrified. What are you hearing and feeling?
It's the strangest contradiction when you're on the border. You're seeing young families crossing. It's snowing, as you can see behind me. It's freezing cold here. So you have mums with small children. You have mums pushing strollers through the snow. You have the elderly, and yet it's sort of shocking how resolute everybody is. Sorry, we've got a siren just coming past, but it's shocking how resolute everybody is. The Ukrainians have a strong spirit. There's no doubt about it.
And I tell you what, hearing people from places like Prague and, other European countries just on their way, they're just going there to fight for Ukraine. It's extraordinary to see so many people do that. We spoke to someone just a couple of days ago who drove 3 days to Poland to drop her son off to friends and family so then she can go back to Ukraine and then just do whatever she can, whether it's feed the people, the 18 to 60-year-old men who are fighting, or just drive them around, do anything they can. It's just extraordinary to see from here in Australia.
It is extraordinary. I talked to one lady, Christina. The morning she left with her daughter from home, she went west to take her daughter to safety. Her husband went east to fight. I mean, what's happening to these communities and these families is, and the decisions they have to make, honestly, just truly heartbreaking, but also strength, resilience. I know it sounds like a cliche, but it's just true. This is a human story. It's about the human spirit, and it's quite remarkable. But that doesn't mean they don't need support, and it doesn't mean they don't need help. All of us around the world, we call to Australians. We know you're generous, but we also know there's so much going on. The temptation is to become overwhelmed. But if the Ukrainians are not feeling overwhelmed, we can stand with them.
Well, that's absolutely right, Daniel, because, just seeing what they're doing, and I know, as you mentioned here, we have our own disasters with the floods, and it's just incredible to see so many people getting in there. I've actually heard people in Lismore, in northern parts of New South Wales, say that they're overloaded with supplies of donations of clothing and so forth. So people are just feeling helpless, wanting to help. And exactly what you said, there are so many people where you are around there just really just putting their hand out and doing exactly what they can. Tell us what your immediate concerns are. You've mentioned the medication, getting people across the borders. Are there any immediate concerns at all?
Our immediate concern right now, we're providing support to people as they cross over the border, and we'll keep doing that. And a part of that is basic needs, but another part of that is psychologists, right, to deal with what's gone on for the last few days. But for us, I think the real focus is inside Ukraine. And so today we've identified one hospital. We've been in contact with them. They're desperate. They've got refugees actually camped around the hospital and in schools nearby. So we're going in there to resupply that place, and we're going to keep resupplying them and that community. We just have to somehow be expanding the work that we're doing so that people like Masha have hospitals, have food, have a way to get through all of this. So that's our concern inside Ukraine.
We're also seeing reports here, Daniel, of children who are very vulnerable that need certain medical equipment. We're seeing babies being born in places where perhaps they shouldn't, and just so many heartbreaking stories. Children saying goodbye to their families. The list goes on, as you well know. It's just extraordinary, and seeing the wait times at the European borders. I believe they've already blown out to 20 hours or so, and hundreds and thousands of more people arriving, as we heard from Masha in Dnipro, who's basically just said so many people taking a very long time to get out of that city, and it's only going to escalate.
It's only going to get worse. Like her friend spending a whole day going 200 kilometers. I'm getting WhatsApps from people around the world that hear that I'm here, and they're saying their friends are stuck inside Ukraine. What's the border like in Romania, and where are the wait times? I mean, you can imagine what it would be like to be in there and have to try to make your way through all of this. I mean, truly, it's just dreadful.
Well, when you break it down, somebody just sitting there in a car for hours and hours and hours, probably just frightened for their life, seeing what's going on around them, can't get too far because the traffic is so jammed, the food supplies, the medical supplies. I mean, it's just so hard to comprehend. Even when we see the vision over and over and we speak to people like yourself and Masha, it's really, really hard to digest. But we do have to wrap this up, and really appreciate you telling us what's happening where you are. And we'll talk to you again soon. CEO of World Vision, Daniel Wordsworth, do stay safe, and thank you so much.